I knew the second I walked into that courtroom wearing my old, slightly faded suit and carrying just 3 folders that everyone in my family thought I was doomed. I could feel their eyes on me, my mother's judgmental stare, my father's tight-lipped disappointment, and my brother's smug grin like he'd already won. And maybe that's exactly why I opened my mouth before the judge even finished announcing the case and said the words that made my brother go pale. "Your Honor, before we begin, I should inform the court that I passed the bar exam last month. The silence that followed was the most satisfying thing I'd heard in years. Tell me honestly, was I wrong for wanting them to see who I'd actually become instead of who they kept pretending I was? I guess none of this would make sense unless I start at the beginning, because for most of my life, my parents treated me like the one child who could never get anything right. I was the creative kid, the one who read books and wrote stories, and spent my weekends studying things nobody in my family cared about. My older brother, on the other hand, was the golden child. He played football, had perfect fake charm, and somehow fooled everyone except me into believing he was destined for greatness. My parents worshipped the ground he walked on, even when he messed up. He wrecked my dad's car. He cheated on exams. He got fired from 2 jobs, didn't matter. They always had a reason, always had an excuse. But if I misplaced $5 from my allowance or asked for help with something, suddenly I was overwhelming or irresponsible. They treated me like I needed supervision before I even turned 12. When I was 15, my grandmother died, my father's mother. She was the only person in the family who actually saw me for who I was. She was sharp, kind, and stubborn in the best possible way. Out of everyone, she was the only one who paid attention to how much work I put into school. She encouraged me to study law when I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't know until years later that she had left a trust fund for me worth $1, $2 million, to be accessed when I turned 25. Not my brother, me, and that, I think, was the day the resentment started festering in my family. They didn't say it out loud, but I could feel it. That money was supposed to go to the golden child, not to the irresponsible one. Years passed and I kept my head down. I worked, saved, studied. I didn't party. I didn't blow money. I didn't do anything wild or stupid. I lived cheaply, budgeted everything, and quietly put myself through school, and eventually law school. I never told them, not because I wanted it to be a secret, but because every time I shared any accomplishment, it became ammunition against me. My mother once said, "You shouldn't get your hopes up. It's better to be realistic," when I told her I might apply to a job at a law office. My father told me, "You're not cut out for that kind of pressure." My brother joked that I should try something easier, like customer service. They'd laugh as if I wasn't even in the room. After a while, I just stopped telling them anything. Then came my 25th birthday. My attorney notified me that the trust would be released soon, pending a few routine checks. I felt this enormous weight lift off my shoulders because for the first time in my life, I had something that was truly mine. Something earned by hard work and faith from someone who actually loved me. I didn't brag about it, didn't hint about it, didn't mention it to my family. I wasn't stupid. I knew how they would react, except they found out anyway. I still don't know how. Maybe they went through my mail. Maybe my brother hacked into something he shouldn't have. Maybe my parents pressured a relative. But out of nowhere, I received a notice from the court. My parents and brother had filed a petition requesting conservatorship over me, claiming that I was mentally and financially incompetent to manage the trust. They claimed I was reckless, emotionally unstable, easily manipulated, and prone to erratic spending. They even included statements claiming I had a history of dangerous behaviors, none of which were even remotely true. My mother's exact words in the filing were, "She has never been good with money. She needs protection for her own sake." When I confronted them, they acted like I should be grateful. My father told me we're doing what's best for you. You'd blow through that money in a year. My mother said you'll thank us someday. We're preventing disaster. My brother just smirked and said, we'll take good care of it. Don't worry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to throw every memory of them in the trash. But instead, I took a deep breath, stood up, and walked out the door. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't respond to their messages. I focused entirely on preparing for what would come next. Because while they spent all their time convincing themselves they were smarter than me, I was taking my final steps toward becoming exactly the thing they told me I could never be. I passed the bar exam. I passed it on the first try, but I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I didn't buy anything expensive. Instead, I printed the results, placed them in a folder, and started researching conservatorship law. I studied every statute, every case, every loophole. I gathered evidence, bank statements, school records, employment history, psychological evaluations I voluntarily obtained. I built my case piece by piece, quietly and meticulously, while my family assumed I'd roll over and let them take everything from me. So there I was, walking into the courtroom in an old suit because I didn't need something flashy. I needed something functional. They were all dressed like they were attending a corporate board meeting, my brother in his overpriced suit, my mother in a designer dress, my father in a tailored jacket. Their attorney looked prepared, with a stack of documents that probably exaggerated every awkward thing I'd ever done in my life. They all stared at my 3 folders like they were a joke. My mother whispered to my brother, thinking I couldn't hear. She didn't even hire representation. My brother snickered. She probably couldn't afford it, and that's when the judge asked if I had counsel. No, Your Honor. I said, I'll be representing myself. I passed the bar exam last month. I swear the oxygen left the room. My brother's mouth literally dropped open. My mother blinked like she was trying to process a foreign language. My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Their attorney's face went stiff, like someone had just pulled the rug out from under her. It was glorious. It was the first time in my life I watched their fake confidence crumble, and before I continue, let me ask you, what would you have done at that moment? If your own family tried to paint you as incompetent to steal over $1 million from you, would you stay quiet or would you fight? Seriously, think about it. Comment below what you would have done in my shoes, because this is where everything changed once the shock settled, the hearing began. Their attorney started with this dramatic speech about how deeply concerned my family was for my well-being. She painted a picture of me as some lost, unstable young woman who couldn't function without constant supervision. She referenced random anecdotes taken wildly out of context, like the time I cried after losing a pet, which she twisted into emotional volatility, or the time I overdrafted my account when I was 19 and learning to budget, which she framed as financial irresponsibility. My mother even pretended to tear up at one point, shaking her head in disappointment like I had ruined her life somehow. When the attorney finished, the judge turned to me and asked if I wanted to respond. Yes, Your Honor. I said. I opened the first folder, financials. I laid out bank records showing consistent savings, no debt, a solid credit score, and years of responsible spending. I showed my income statements, tax returns, budgets, everything. Then I opened the second folder, academic and professional history. I provided transcripts, letters from professors, recommendations, proof of work experience, and the official notice that I passed the bar exam. Lastly, the third folder, psychological evaluations. Clean, healthy, stable, nothing even close to what my parents were claiming. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself out of emotion. I simply presented facts. And then I said, Your Honor, my family has underestimated me my entire life. They do not believe I am capable because they have never allowed themselves to see who I actually am. The judge asked my parents if they wanted to respond to the evidence. My mother immediately stood up, furious, and snapped, "She must have faked something. She can't possibly." The judge cut her off immediately, warning her to watch her tone. My brother tried to speak next, stuttering through excuses that made no sense. My father kept shaking his head, muttering that this was unbelievable. Their attorney looked like she wanted to disappear. The judge took a long pause, reviewing everything quietly. Then he said, "Words I had been waiting to hear. This petition is not only denied, but it appears to have been filed in bad faith." My mother gasped. My brother slumped back in his chair. My father's face went blank. The judge wasn't finished, in fact. "I am seriously considering sanctions for the misuse of court resources and the defamatory claims made without basis. I had never seen my family afraid before. Not like this, not of me, of consequences." The judge turned to me and said, "You have demonstrated complete capability to manage your affairs. I wish you the best." Case dismissed. My family rushed after me the moment we stepped into the hallway. My mother hissed, "How dare you embarrass us like that?" I didn't even look at her. I just kept walking. My father grabbed my arm and said, "We were only trying to help." I pulled my arm away and said, "No, you were trying to take what wasn't yours." And my brother, the one who always had something to say, looked the most shaken of all. He asked, voice cracking, "When did you even go to law school?" I stared him dead in the eyes and said, "Well, you were too busy assuming I'd never amount to anything." Then I walked away. I didn't yell, I didn't gloat, I didn't need to. The truth had already done the talking for me. In the weeks that followed, things got messy for them. The judge imposed fines for filing a fraudulent petition. Their attorney dropped them as clients, and extended relatives who heard about the case started asking uncomfortable questions. My parents tried to spin the story, but the court records were public. Anyone who checked could see exactly what they did. As for me, I claimed my trust legally, without interference. I hired a financial advisor. I paid for a nicer apartment. I invested. I continued working in the legal field. For the first time in my life, I felt not just independent, but respected. Because I had earned this victory through discipline and quiet determination. Even when no one believed in me. I didn't cut my family off entirely, but I made something extremely clear. Access to me was no longer a right. It was a privilege, one they had to earn, and for once, they seemed to understand that. You know, looking back now, I realized something important. Sometimes the people who doubt you the most aren't your enemies. They're just people who can't imagine you being more than the version of you they keep in their heads. But that's their limitation, not yours. So if you listened to all of this, thank you. And if you were on my side through this whole mess, do me a favor and like this video. It really helps. Subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments what you think my family's true intentions were, because even now, I'm still trying to understand them. Until next time, thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.